I really regret saying things like this at this age. 5 things you should keep secret from your family. Silence is a source of great strength. Marcus Aurelius. Have you ever shared something deeply personal with your family, only to wish you hadn't? It's a feeling many of us know too well. As we grow older, we begin to realize that there are some things better left unsaid. But why is that? In today's video, I'll reveal 5 important things you should keep secret from your family. These are not just personal matters, they're powerful choices that can protect your peace of mind, strengthen your relationships, and preserve your dignity. By staying with me until the end, you'll learn how keeping certain things private can enhance mutual respect and emotional well-being. We'll explore why your past mistakes, health concerns, unfulfilled dreams, disappointments, and future plans are often better left unsaid. Choosing silence in these areas can lead to deeper connections, more trust, and a life filled with peace. Let's dive in. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe to Stoic in Your Life for more insights. 1. Past major mistakes. As the years pass, life's experiences, both triumphs and failures, shape us into who we are. We all reach a stage in life when we feel compelled to share the lessons we've learned, the wisdom we've gained, and the hardships we've overcome. As men of a certain age, there is often an urge to offer our families insights from our own journey, so they don't repeat our mistakes and can lead better, wiser lives. But there is one powerful thing that many of us fail to realize. Sometimes, silence is the greatest lesson we can offer. There's a certain strength in holding back, in choosing to keep certain stories and memories to ourselves. It's not about secrecy, nor about hiding parts of who we are. It's about protecting a sacred balance within ourselves and preserving the peace in our relationships. Consider the story of Mr. Lawrence, a retired craftsman, whose life was filled with both wisdom and sorrow. Years ago, he partnered with someone he trusted only to be betrayed, losing not just his financial security but his faith in others. After the loss, he rebuilt his life in silence, without sharing the painful chapter with his family. His pride, his resilience, and his dignity were at stake. Yet one day, feeling that his granddaughter was old enough to hear about his past, he decided to share this painful story, thinking it would serve as a lesson for her. As he spoke, he watched her face for signs of understanding, only to be met with pity and concern. That look, one of unintentional sympathy, unsettled him deeply. For the first time, he felt exposed and vulnerable, as if his mistakes had defined him once again. It was in that moment that Mr. Lawrence realized a profound truth. Not every scar needs to be displayed, not every failure must be shared, and not every lesson comes from recounting past mistakes. The price of vulnerability sometimes outweighs the potential benefit of sharing. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The best way to avenge yourself is not to become like the one who wronged you." In sharing his past mistake, Mr. Lawrence inadvertently placed himself in a position where his wisdom was overshadowed by his past weakness. Our loved ones, especially younger generations, look up to us for guidance, for strength, for resilience. When we open up about our vulnerabilities, especially when it involves our mistakes, there's a risk of altering how they view us. What they once saw as a figure of stability and wisdom can shift to someone defined by past regrets. The balance we carefully maintain between guiding and protecting our loved ones is fragile, and in moments of unguarded honesty, it can tip in unexpected ways. That's why sometimes the most powerful choice we can make is to remain silent about certain parts of our journey. This doesn't mean we withhold love or support, but rather that we respect the boundaries of our personal history, understanding that some stories, some mistakes, are best kept as private reflections. The act of sharing a painful story may not always result in the wisdom we hope to impart. What we often forget is that the most powerful lessons aren't always spoken. They are lived. Our actions, our resilience, and our quiet strength carry more weight than any anecdote we could share. By preserving some memories for ourselves, we not only protect our peace of mind, but we also safeguard our relationships from unnecessary burdens. When we share too much, we risk overloading others with emotional baggage that they might not be equipped to handle. For instance, there are moments when talking about our struggles or past mistakes can unintentionally shift the focus from our present growth to our past failures. In doing so, we not only diminish the strength we've built over time, but also open the door for misunderstanding. Our loved ones may not fully understand the context of our mistakes or the lessons we've learned from them, and instead of growing from our experiences, they may begin to view us through the lens of our past flaws. In choosing silence, we give our family the space to admire and learn from us without the distortion of history. In practical terms, keeping certain things to ourselves isn't about being secretive. It's about setting boundaries that protect our mental and emotional well-being. For instance, think about sharing your past financial struggles with your children. While you might feel compelled to teach them about the importance of financial responsibility, there are some aspects of your experience that might be better left unsaid. Similarly, sharing your health problems too openly can sometimes cause unnecessary worry, or make others view you as fragile, when in fact, you are merely working through a challenge. By remaining discreet, you avoid projecting weakness and instead show your family that resilience doesn't always need to be broadcasted to be real. In the wisdom of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This same principle applies to our personal lives. We don't need to share everything to validate our worth or prove our growth. Some stories are like old wounds, better left to heal in silence, serving as reminders of how far we've come without reopening them unnecessarily. By withholding certain details, we create a space of inner peace, where our strength speaks louder than any words could. This discretion is not about hiding our truth, it's about protecting our peace and our relationships. It's about guiding with quiet strength, offering wisdom through actions rather than through endless stories of past battles. When we choose silence over sharing, we allow ourselves to remain the strong, dignified figures our families look up to. The grace in withholding certain parts of our story lies not in shame, but in the recognition that some things are better experienced than explained. We are not defined by our mistakes, nor are we required to recount every lesson learned. In fact, sometimes the best lessons come from the quiet example we set, rather than the words we speak. By allowing ourselves the luxury of silence, we protect our dignity and preserve the respect of those around us, all while continuing to guide them with an unspoken wisdom that is both timeless and powerful. In today's world, where everyone seems to be sharing every detail of their lives, the choice to keep some things private can feel counterintuitive. But there is elegance in discretion. In a society that often values transparency above all else, choosing to protect certain parts of our past is an act of profound self-awareness. It allows us to preserve not only our peace, but also our role as pillars of wisdom in our families. The truth is, not every story needs to be told. By holding certain stories close to our hearts, we don't just protect ourselves, we protect our relationships too. Through this quiet strength, we become the example our families need to navigate their own lives with courage and resilience. As you move forward in life, remember that silence is not a weakness, but a choice that reflects strength, wisdom, and self-respect. By choosing when to speak and when to remain silent, you maintain control over your narrative and your relationships, ensuring that your legacy is one of quiet dignity and enduring love. Through this act of grace, you offer your family not just your wisdom, but your presence, grounded, calm, and steadfast, teaching them by example the most valuable lesson of all, how to live fully without being burdened by the past. 2. Minor health concerns. As we age, it's only natural to become more aware of the subtle changes in our bodies, the small aches and pains that remind us we're not as young as we used to be. It might be a slight stiffness in our knees after a walk, a back that feels a little sore in the morning, or a restless night that leaves us tired yet still determined to take on the day. These minor health issues, though common, can become a frequent part of our daily lives. And while it might seem natural to share these with our family, it's important to think about the effect this might have on them. After all, those who love us most, our children, our spouses, our friends, want to see us healthy, happy, and capable. When we mention each new ache or sleepless night, their hearts are often filled with concern. They want to help, but they also feel helpless when they can't take away the discomfort we're experiencing. While sharing these small health issues may feel like seeking comfort, it can unintentionally lead our loved ones to start seeing us as fragile, dependent, or in need of constant care. Now consider the story of Mrs. Eleanor, a retired schoolteacher whose wisdom and kindness shaped generations of young minds. In her 70s, Eleanor had a peaceful life, filled with the joys of gardening, reading, and spending time with her grandchildren. Yet, like many people her age, she began to feel the familiar aches of growing older, the stiffness in her knees, the occasional backache. One afternoon, while having tea with her daughter, Eleanor casually mentioned the discomfort she felt in her knees. Immediately, her daughter sprang into action, researching knee braces, herbal supplements, and exercises to relieve joint pain. It was clear that her daughter was acting out of love and care, but as the days passed, Eleanor began to feel something she hadn't anticipated, a growing sense of being treated like a patient rather than the strong, independent woman she still saw herself as. Every minor ailment was met with concern and suggestions, and while her family meant well, the constant focus on her health began to overshadow the vibrant woman she had always been. This constant worry, though well-intentioned, became exhausting for Eleanor. It made her feel less like the resilient person she once was and more like someone who needed to be taken care of. It was in this moment that Eleanor made a quiet but powerful decision. She would no longer share every little discomfort with her family. Instead, she began to focus on the positive moments in her day, the things that brought her joy. She would talk about the flowers she had planted in her garden or the book that had captivated her attention. She would mention the refreshing walk she took around the neighborhood or the lovely chat she had with a neighbor. By shifting the focus from her aches to the moments of joy and fulfillment, Eleanor noticed a transformation in her family's response. They no longer saw her as a collection of health issues, but as the strong, vibrant woman she had always been. This decision wasn't about ignoring her health or pretending that aging didn't come with challenges. It was about controlling the narrative of her own life, about ensuring that her legacy wasn't defined by her struggles, but by her strength and resilience. In choosing what to share, Eleanor was able to preserve her sense of self and maintain the joy in her relationships. By focusing on the positive aspects of her life, she gave her family the chance to see her as someone who, despite the natural aches of aging, was still fully capable of enjoying life, engaging with the world, and offering wisdom. Eleanor's story is a reminder of the power of selective sharing. We all experience the discomforts of growing older, aches, pains, sleepless nights. But we don't have to make every health concern a focal point of our conversations. By keeping some of these minor health issues to ourselves, we can protect our loved ones from unnecessary worry and allow them to see us as resilient, capable individuals. We can focus on the things that bring us joy, the moments that make life worth living, rather than letting our minor ailments become the main topic of conversation. After all, our families want to know that we are okay, that we are enjoying life and making the most of every day. By sharing the positives, we remind them, and ourselves, that we are so much more than our aches and pains. In your conversations with your family could shift. Instead of telling them about a sore back, why not share a story about a friend you helped or a new hobby you've taken up? Rather than dwelling on a sleepless night, talk about the beautiful sunrise you saw or the plans you're making for an upcoming family gathering. When we choose to focus on what's going well in our lives, we create an atmosphere of positivity, and that can change how our family sees us. They will no longer look at us with concern over every little discomfort. Instead, they'll see us as the vibrant, strong individuals we are, capable of navigating life with grace and wisdom. By keeping some health concerns private, we not only protect our family from worry, but we also protect ourselves. We preserve our dignity and maintain a sense of independence, which is incredibly important as we age. There is wisdom in choosing what to share, and this is something we can all learn from. It's not about denying the challenges we face, but about framing them in a way that highlights our resilience and our ability to overcome. By focusing on the positives, we can create a legacy of strength and joy, rather than one of fragility and dependence. This approach isn't about pretending that aging doesn't come with challenges. It's about remembering that life, even in its later years, is still full of beauty, growth, and opportunity. Just because we may have aches in our bodies doesn't mean our spirits have to be burdened. When we focus on what brings us joy and share that with our families, we help them see us in a new light, as people who are still living fully, still engaging with the world, and still offering love and wisdom to those around us. In the end, choosing what we share about our health becomes a way of shaping the story of our lives. It's not about denying the reality of aging, but about embracing it with grace, joy, and resilience. When we focus on our strengths and the positive moments in our lives, we create a legacy that will inspire our loved ones, a legacy of love, strength, and quiet courage. And that, in the end, is the most powerful gift we can give to those we care about. The gift of seeing us not as our weaknesses, but as the strong, vibrant people we truly are. 3. Unfulfilled dreams or wishes. As we grow older, we find ourselves quietly holding on to a collection of dreams, hopes, and desires that, for one reason or another, never came to fruition. These dreams, often tenderly tucked away in our hearts, become like precious fragments of the life we might have lived. Maybe it was the dream of becoming a successful musician, traveling the world, or leaving behind a meaningful legacy. We hold these unfulfilled dreams with a mixture of nostalgia and a touch of regret, and yet they remain a part of who we are. But what happens when we share these dreams with our loved ones, especially our family, who may not fully understand the depth of their significance? It's an important question to consider. Take Mr. James, for example, a retired mechanic who always dreamed of being a musician. In his youth, he saved up money, bought his first guitar, and spent hours practicing, his passion ignited by the strings and melodies that seemed to speak directly to his soul. But life, as it often does, took him on a different path. Marriage, fatherhood, and a steady job that supported his family. For decades, he poured his energy into being the best father and provider he could be, and music, once his burning passion, faded into the background. Now, in his 70s, Mr. James reflects on the dream that never fully blossomed, wondering what might have been had he followed his heart. One day, feeling vulnerable and yearning for connection, Mr. James decides to share this long-held dream with his teenage grandson, who admires him greatly. He tells his grandson about his love for music, about how he spent years trying to learn the guitar, and the nights he would practice by candlelight. But as he speaks, he notices something in his grandson's eyes, a mix of confusion, sadness, and perhaps a bit of guilt. His grandson struggles to see his grandfather as anything other than the man who worked tirelessly to raise him, who had provided for the family and built a stable life. This revelation, though shared with the best of intentions, causes a slight distance between them. Mr. James realizes that his grandson, despite his admiration, doesn't fully understand the regret or longing behind his dream. It wasn't just about the guitar or the music. It was about a piece of himself that never got to see the light of day. This moment of reflection leads Mr. James to a deeper understanding. He begins to realize that his regret isn't about the life he chose. In fact, the life he built with his family, the laughter, the love, and the connections, holds far more meaning to him than the unfulfilled dream. He understands that while the dream of being a musician still holds a special place in his heart, it no longer defines him. Instead, it's a quiet chapter in a much larger narrative filled with richness, love, and sacrifice. As he looks back, he sees that this dream isn't something he needs to share with everyone. It's a personal treasure, a part of his inner world that needs no validation from others. Some dreams, he realizes, are best kept close, as private reminders of who we were and what we once wanted. Mr. James doesn't need to burden his family with the weight of his unfulfilled aspirations. Instead, he focuses on the life he has lived and the fulfillment he has found in unexpected places. He begins to share with his grandson stories of his work as a mechanic, how he found pride in fixing cars, how he felt satisfaction in the craftsmanship, and how he built a life with his own hands. These stories, while not about music, carry the same passion and resilience that once fueled his musical dreams. His grandson begins to see his grandfather not as a man of regret, but as a man who has lived a full and rich life, finding meaning in the work he did and the family he raised. And here's where a key lesson lies for all of us. Not every dream needs to be achieved to be meaningful. Sometimes the beauty of our unfulfilled dreams lies not in their achievement, but in how they shaped us along the way. Mr. James's unspoken dreams become a quiet beauty in his life, not something to mourn, but something to cherish. By holding these dreams close, he doesn't allow them to overshadow the life he has lived, filled with love, laughter, and purpose. He finds peace in accepting both the fulfilled and unfulfilled parts of his story. And in doing so, he teaches his family, and perhaps us all, that life's beauty isn't always about achieving every goal or realizing every dream, but in accepting the journey we've taken. Do you have dreams like this? Dreams that never came to pass? How do you feel about them? Do you let them haunt you, or do you embrace them as part of your unique journey? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." The same can be said of our unfulfilled dreams. Sometimes, it's the very act of letting go and accepting that not everything will unfold as we envisioned that brings us peace. Dreams that are never realized can still hold immense value in shaping who we are. They teach us lessons about resilience, patience, and the ability to find meaning even in the face of disappointment. They remind us that life isn't just about what we accomplish, but about how we learn to embrace each moment, each turn, and each unexpected outcome. In embracing this perspective, you might find a greater sense of freedom and fulfillment than you ever expected. The Stoics believed that by mastering our inner world, we can find peace no matter what life throws at us. Mr. James's decision to quietly hold on to his dreams allowed him to do just that, to maintain his peace and to share his love and wisdom without regret. His story reminds us that fulfillment often comes not from achieving every dream, but from embracing the life we have and the journey we've taken. So, as you reflect on your own unfulfilled dreams, remember that they don't need to define you. They are part of the beautiful complexity that makes up who you are. And by cherishing them privately, you can continue to live your life with purpose, joy, and the quiet strength that comes from within. 4. Disappointments or dissatisfaction with family. As we journey through life, one of the deepest sources of strength and vulnerability lies within our families. Our children, siblings, and extended family members are not only the people we love most, but also those with whom we share our dreams, hopes, and at times expectations. These expectations, often forged from our own experiences and values, can shape how we view their lives, hoping for their security, happiness, and fulfillment. However, as time passes, we come to realize that life is full of unpredictable paths, and those closest to us must walk their own journeys, even if those journeys don't align with our ideals. It's only natural that, when our loved ones make choices that diverge from our expectations, we may feel a quiet pang of disappointment, a mixture of concern, love, and sometimes fear for their futures. Yet, as we grow older, we also begin to see that our role is not to impose our dreams upon them, but to offer quiet, unwavering support as they carve their own paths. In Stoicism, Epictetus wisely reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This wisdom encourages us to recognize that our true wealth especially as parents or mentors, is found not in dictating how others should live, but in accepting them for who they are and loving them unconditionally. In the story of Mrs. Amelia, a retired librarian who devoted her life to books, knowledge, and the reliable rhythm of a steady career, she raised her children with similar values, encouraging them to pursue paths that would lead to stability, careers that would offer financial security and a predictable future. But her daughter, on the other hand, had a different vision. She dreamed of entrepreneurship, of starting her own business and creating something that would ignite her passion, even though it came with significant risks. Mrs. Amelia, deeply rooted in her belief in security and predictability, felt a wave of anxiety at the thought of her daughter pursuing a path that seemed fraught with uncertainty. Every sleepless night brought images of setbacks, financial struggles, and a future full of unknowns. So, with a heavy heart, she tried to offer guidance. She gently suggested that her daughter might be better off finding a traditional, stable job, one that would protect her from the harsh realities of the entrepreneurial world. Her words, though well-intentioned, were met with a painful silence, as her daughter felt a deep sting. It felt to her as if her mother doubted her dreams, doubted her ability to succeed. Mrs. Amelia, sensing the hurt her words had caused, was left with a sharp pang of regret. Here's where the power of silence and reflection enters. Instead of allowing her disappointment to further erode their relationship, Mrs. Amelia chose to shift her perspective. She recognized that her daughter's journey was not hers to control, and that the choices her daughter made were reflective of her own dreams and values, not her mother's. By stepping back and embracing a more passive form of support, Mrs. Amelia allowed her daughter to explore her ambitions without feeling suffocated by her mother's expectations. This quiet support didn't mean Mrs. Amelia was indifferent. On the contrary, she found that by stepping back she could be a stronger, more reliable presence in her daughter's life. Over time, their conversations shifted. Her daughter began to open up about the triumphs and challenges of her business venture, and Mrs. Amelia began to listen, not with judgment or anxiety, but with admiration for her daughter's courage and resilience. This silent support, born from love and respect, became the true gift that Mrs. Amelia could offer, far more valuable than any advice or suggestion ever could be. In fact, Stoic wisdom teaches us that wisdom itself often lies in understanding the limits of our control. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Mrs. Amelia, in learning to silence her worries, found the strength to accept her daughter's choices as they were, not as she hoped they would be. She also discovered the power of letting go of expectations, of realizing that her daughter's happiness was not hers to define, but hers to experience. When we resist the temptation to impose our fears or hopes onto others, we give them the freedom to shape their own identities and paths. We create space for them to grow, to make mistakes, and to find their own success on their own terms. In life, it can often feel like we need to protect those we love from the uncertainty of the world. In doing so, we may inadvertently stifle their growth, discouraging them from pursuing dreams that seem too risky or too different from our own experiences. But by embracing the Stoic principle of focusing only on what we can control, our own actions, thoughts, and responses, we begin to see the wisdom in withholding judgment. This isn't to say that we should abandon all advice or that we shouldn't care. It simply means that in the face of our loved ones' decisions, we should strive to listen more than we speak, to offer encouragement over critique, and to demonstrate faith in their abilities, even when we don't fully understand their choices. The choice to withhold disappointment and offer silent support creates a space of unconditional love, a love that transcends words and advice, a love that speaks louder in its quiet strength. It allows our family members to feel accepted, respected, and trusted rather than pressured or judged. And in this quiet, enduring support, we build a foundation of trust that fosters open communication and strengthens relationships over time. Our loved ones, knowing that they are free to walk their own path without fear of judgment, will be more likely to turn to us when they need guidance, reassurance, or simply someone to listen. In this way, silence becomes not an absence of care but a deeper form of respect, one that acknowledges their autonomy and encourages their growth. Mrs. Amelia's journey is a powerful reminder that the weight of our expectations can sometimes create invisible rifts in our relationships. But the power of love, grounded in patience, understanding, and silence, can heal those rifts and allow us to be a steadfast presence in our loved ones' lives. As we reflect on our own relationships, we may find that the best way to show love is not through words, but through our actions, through the quiet strength of our support, through our ability to listen without judgment, and through our unwavering belief in their ability to chart their own course. The Stoic practice of self-control, learning when to speak and when to remain silent, allows us to cultivate stronger, more resilient relationships, founded on the understanding that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply allowing someone to be who they are, without interference or expectation. In doing so, we honor the individuality of those we love. We recognize that their path may not be the one we would have chosen, but it is theirs to walk. In choosing acceptance over criticism, we create a lasting bond of trust and mutual respect, one that will endure through challenges and triumphs alike. By stepping back, we create a foundation of confidence for them to grow and flourish. And ultimately, this is the legacy we leave behind. A legacy not of words or judgments, but of quiet, unwavering love that will echo through generations. In the end, it's not about controlling their journey, but offering the freedom to follow it with confidence. And in doing so, we help to build a family not defined by expectations, but by unconditional love. And perhaps that is the greatest gift we can give. 5. Personal plans for assets. As we progress through life, it's natural to want to ensure our loved ones are taken care of after we're gone. We've spent years building a life, accumulating assets, and making plans that we hope will secure their future. The urge to share these plans, to let our family know how we intend to distribute our wealth, feels like a responsible and loving gesture. After all, we want them to understand that all the hard work we've done was not only for our own benefit, but also to provide them with a sense of security. Yet, as heartfelt as these intentions may be, discussing our asset plans too early, or in too much detail, can have unintended consequences. It can shift the focus of relationships from genuine connection to material concerns, sowing seeds of competition, comparison, and even resentment. By waiting until the right moment to share our asset plans, we can maintain the harmony in our family, keeping our relationships based on love and shared experiences, rather than financial expectations. Let me share with you the story of Mr. Robert. After retiring from a long and successful career in banking, Mr. Robert had spent many years carefully constructing a modest estate. His goal was simple. He wanted to provide his two sons with a sense of comfort and security, a cushion to fall back on when he was no longer around. So, in a family gathering, he thought it would be a good idea to share these plans with them. He felt that being open about his intentions would bring peace of mind, making them feel secure and loved. He imagined that such transparency would bring the family closer, showing his sons how much he cared about their futures. At first, his sons seemed grateful for his openness. They listened intently and expressed their appreciation for his foresight. But over time, things started to change. They began asking more questions about his investments, subtly suggesting ways to redirect his estate. What was initially a heartfelt gesture soon became a topic of ongoing negotiation. The discussions about his plans were no longer about love or security. They became about managing money, about expectations, and about who would get what. Mr. Robert noticed a shift in their behavior, a subtle but noticeable tension that hadn't been there before. What was supposed to be a bonding moment had instead become a source of stress. It wasn't long before Mr. Robert realized that his well-meaning gesture had introduced an unintended dynamic in his family. Instead of focusing on their bond as father and sons, They began viewing him more as a figurehead managing future finances. This realization was sobering, but it also gave him the clarity he needed to act. He decided to stop discussing his inheritance plans openly. He kept his asset distribution private, choosing instead to work with a trusted advisor who could help him organize everything in a way that honored his wishes. This shift allowed him to regain control of the narrative and, more importantly, reconnect with his sons in a way that wasn't influenced by financial concerns. Instead of continuing to explain and justify his plans, Mr. Robert decided to focus on what truly mattered, spending time with his family, creating memories, and fostering deeper connections. As he spent time with his sons, they began to share more about their lives, their aspirations, and even their struggles. They were no longer weighed down by the thought of inheritance. They were simply enjoying each other's company, appreciating the family bond they shared. In doing this, Mr. Robert created a space where his sons could be themselves, free from the complexities of financial discussions. The lesson here isn't about withholding love or trust. It's about recognizing the power of privacy and preserving the true value of relationships. Even with the best of intentions, early discussions about inheritance can cloud the way we interact with our family members. When we talk too much about money, assets, and wills, we risk shifting the focus of our relationships from love and connection to competition and comparison. This subtle shift can create tension, especially if family members begin to feel that they are being judged based on what they will inherit rather than who they are as individuals. By keeping asset plans private, we ensure that family time remains rooted in genuine connection, not financial calculations. In addition to minimizing potential misunderstandings, keeping asset plans private also allows us to have more control over our legacy. Life is unpredictable, and our circumstances may change over time. When we share our plans prematurely, we create a situation where our family might feel entitled to certain things, or even worse, start to question our decisions. By keeping things private, we allow ourselves the freedom to make adjustments as needed, ensuring that our legacy aligns with our true values and long-term goals. It also relieves us from the pressure of having to explain or justify our decisions every time someone asks. We can focus on the bigger picture, on the love, respect, and memories that will truly define our legacy. Mr. Robert, after choosing to keep his asset plans private, found new ways to connect with his sons. Rather than discussing the details of his estate, he shared his knowledge about money management, teaching them how to budget, invest, and build financial independence. He provided them with tools to succeed in their own right, without relying on inheritance or external wealth. This approach not only empowered his sons, but also deepened their bond. They began to see him not just as a father concerned with leaving them an inheritance, but as a mentor, guiding them toward independence and self-sufficiency. This shift in focus, away from material wealth and toward practical life lessons, strengthened their relationship, and in turn, created a legacy that was based on shared wisdom rather than simply financial assets. By keeping our asset plans private, we also gain a sense of freedom and independence over our legacy. We no longer feel the pressure of constant scrutiny or influence from family members who may have their own ideas about what we should do with our wealth. This privacy allows us to make decisions that are aligned with our core values, without external distractions. And when the time comes to share these plans, we can do so with confidence, knowing that every decision was made thoughtfully and in accordance with our own beliefs and priorities. The true legacy we leave behind isn't measured by the contents of a will or the size of an estate. It is the legacy of love, compassion, and mutual respect that we build through the moments we share with those closest to us. By keeping our asset plans private, we protect the sanctity of our relationships, ensuring that our families remember us not just for what we left behind financially, but for who we were, wise, loving, and generous in ways that transcended material wealth. This is the kind of legacy that lasts, the kind of legacy that lives on in the hearts of our loved ones long after we're gone. Family is built on trust, understanding, and shared experiences, not on the distribution of wealth. When we choose to keep our asset plans private, we create a legacy that speaks to the values we hold dear. It's a legacy that endures far beyond material wealth, a legacy that is woven with care, patience, and the understanding that relationships are the true treasures in life. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By keeping our plans private, we ensure that our thoughts and our legacy are aligned with the things that truly matter: love, connection, and family. Why sharing financial plans too early can harm family relationships. A wise person once said, "The more you share about your plans, the more you risk distorting the way people see you." This couldn't be truer when it comes to something as personal and impactful as your financial future. Imagine opening up to your family about your carefully crafted plans, only to see them turn into something that no longer feels like a supportive conversation. Instead, it starts to shift into expectations, comparisons, and even tension. Now, we'll explore the hidden risks of sharing your financial plans too soon and why it's crucial to think before you speak. We dive deep into how small decisions, like discussing your financial future with your loved ones, can affect your family relationships in ways you may not even realize. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why holding back on this one topic might actually be the best way to protect your family's harmony. Let's get into it. 1. The benefits of keeping financial plans personal. In life, there is a profound truth shared by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. This wisdom underscores the importance of maintaining autonomy over our lives and decisions, especially when it comes to something as personal as financial planning. Sharing your financial plans too early can inadvertently take away your own freedom and the flexibility you need to adapt to life's inevitable changes. When you open up too soon about your assets or inheritance plans, it often places an invisible burden on your family members, forcing them to view you not as a parent or loved one but as a financial resource. The pressure to act in a way that aligns with those future expectations can breed a sense of obligation rather than love. This creates an environment where relationships are based on what is to be inherited rather than the true value of emotional connection. As a result, what was intended to be an act of transparency and care can often lead to tension, uncertainty, and even unspoken competition among family members. It's not just about financial security. It's about the emotional dynamics that evolve when too much information is shared too soon. For instance, think about the scenario of a father revealing his inheritance plans to his children long before they need to know. The children, initially grateful, may begin to wonder if their behavior will influence the final distribution of assets. Small gestures of kindness or disagreements can take on a new weight, as they may be viewed through the lens of financial gain or loss. Suddenly, actions that once seemed innocent become strategic, as family members begin to make decisions based not on genuine concern, but on perceived financial stakes. This shift is subtle but powerful, and it often turns the warmth of family bonds into a transactional relationship. In this light, keeping your financial plans private can actually be an act of love. By protecting the integrity of your relationships, you give your family the freedom to act authentically, without the pressure of living up to financial expectations. By maintaining some level of privacy, you safeguard the emotional health of your family and ensure that when the time comes to share your plans, it is done so in a way that doesn't disrupt the natural flow of love and connection. Moreover, the ability to adjust plans when life changes is another key benefit of privacy. Life is unpredictable, and your financial circumstances or the needs of your family may evolve over time. The beauty of keeping things private until absolutely necessary is that you can make changes without worrying about how those adjustments might affect the expectations of others. You can act freely, based on what is best for you and your loved ones, without the pressure of having to justify your decisions to others. This flexibility is not only empowering for you, but it also allows your family to focus on what truly matters, the moments you share together, free from the shadow of future inheritance. As the philosopher Seneca wisely said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When we keep our financial plans to ourselves, we encourage contentment and gratitude within the family, rather than fostering an environment of longing and comparison. You are ultimately giving the greatest gift, space for your loved ones to thrive without the constraints of material expectations. By maintaining a sense of privacy about your financial plans, you ensure that your family stays rooted in what is most important: connection, love, and mutual respect. This approach will serve not only to preserve the peace and harmony within your household, but also to ensure that your legacy is one that is centered on values, not financial transactions. 2. Premature financial discussions can foster comparisons and rivalries. When it comes to financial planning, there's a well-known saying that too much of anything is bad. And this certainly applies when discussing your financial future with family members too early. While it's natural to want to reassure your loved ones about their security and well-being, sharing too much too soon can lead to unexpected consequences. If you reveal your financial plans too early, it can create an atmosphere of comparison and competition that can undermine the very relationships you're trying to protect. Family members may start to compare the shares they expect to receive, and this often results in feelings of favoritism, jealousy, and even resentment. The story of Michael and his two siblings. Michael, after spending years building a successful business, decided to share his estate plans with his siblings, hoping to avoid any confusion later on. At first, it seemed like a gesture of transparency. However, the moment they knew how things were divided, something shifted. His younger brother, who had a more modest career, felt his share was too small compared to his older sister, who had been more financially successful in her own right. Without realizing it, Michael's attempt to give his siblings peace of mind created a rift between them. What was meant to foster trust and security instead led to bitterness and a sense of unfairness. It's easy to see how this happens, right? When we make the decision to open up about our financial plans, we unintentionally introduce the possibility of comparisons. One family member might feel they are getting less than they deserve, while another may feel entitled to more. This breeds a sense of division where there should be unity. The truth is, sharing the specifics of your assets and inheritance plans too soon can quickly lead to competition where there should be collaboration. Why? Because everyone comes with their own expectations, dreams, and feelings of what's fair. But fairness is often subjective, especially when it involves financial matters. Now, you might be wondering, is it possible to avoid these kinds of problems? The answer is yes. By keeping your financial plans private, or at least limiting the details shared, you can prevent unnecessary rivalries from forming. Instead of focusing on what people will receive, you give them the space to focus on what truly matters: your time, your love, and the memories you create together. Building emotional connections through shared experiences is far more valuable than any financial inheritance, and it's something that will be cherished long after you're gone. When you focus on spending quality time with your family and creating meaningful experiences, the question of who gets what becomes irrelevant. Your legacy is no longer tied to money. It's rooted in your values, your character, and the bond you've nurtured with those you love. Keeping financial discussions private also allows you to avoid placing any one family member in a position where they feel overlooked or excluded. By focusing on relationships rather than material wealth, you ensure that your family's foundation remains strong and secure. 3. The difficulty of adjusting plans after they've been shared. Have you ever shared a plan with someone, only to realize later that it's no longer the right choice? When it comes to your financial plans, especially those concerning your assets and inheritance, this kind of situation can be even more complicated. Once you've openly shared the details of your financial strategy with family, changing those plans can feel nearly impossible. Family members may have already formed expectations or, worse yet, might feel a sense of entitlement to what you've shared with them. Suddenly, any alteration to your plans isn't just a simple adjustment, it's a potential conflict waiting to happen. As the famous Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And in the context of financial planning, how you manage the reactions of your loved ones is just as important as the plans themselves. Think about it for a moment. Once your family knows about your plans, they may start to mentally and emotionally invest in them. They may feel that the estate, the inheritance, or the distribution of wealth is a done deal, and any changes could disrupt their own expectations. So, when life takes an unexpected turn, and your financial priorities change, it becomes hard to pivot without creating tension. But here's the thing. Flexibility is crucial. Life is constantly shifting, and your financial plans should be just as adaptable. However, when you've shared these plans too early, or in too much detail, you lose the space to make those adjustments without feeling like you're betraying someone's trust or facing judgment. This is why it's important to keep some things private. Keeping your plans under wraps allows you the freedom to change course when necessary, without being worried about the impact it will have on others. You can approach your finances with a sense of calm, knowing that you don't need to explain every decision or concern to everyone who may have an opinion. And when you finally decide it's time to share, you do so when you're confident and certain in your choices, free from external pressure. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should hide everything from your family. Rather, it's about finding the right balance. Sharing your plans too early can lead to unnecessary complications, but withholding everything indefinitely can also create its own set of problems. The key here is timing and being aware of your family's emotional investment in your decisions. Think about the last time you had to make an important decision and how much easier it was when you had time to weigh all options without external influence. What if you had to make that decision while constantly worrying about what others would think or expect? It adds a layer of stress that you just don't need. The same is true for financial decisions. It's okay to keep things private until you're absolutely sure that you're ready to share, and when you do, it should be done thoughtfully with clarity and with respect for the family dynamics at play. So I ask you, have you ever been in a position where you shared too much too soon, only to wish you had kept it to yourself? Reflect on that. What would you do differently now, knowing the importance of timing and personal space in the process? It's a powerful lesson in setting boundaries, both for yourself and your family, and recognizing that you are in control of your plans until the right moment comes to share them. 4. Fostering family bond over financial concerns. When we begin to discuss our financial plans too early with family members, it can unintentionally shift the focus of the relationship from love and emotional connection to material matters. The essence of family life is rooted in shared memories, deep affection, and mutual support. But once financial discussions take center stage, the bond that holds people together can begin to fray. This shift happens gradually, but is often impactful. Instead of talking about personal achievements, dreams, or how to help one another grow, conversations may become dominated by who will receive what, when, and how much. As Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, wisely put it, wealth consists not in having great possessions but in having few wants. The same can be said for family relationships. True wealth is found in the love and time we give to each other, not the money that may eventually change hands. Think about your own family. Have you noticed times when financial topics creep into every conversation, eroding the deeper, more meaningful discussions? The truth is, the more we talk about our estate plans, the more we risk turning family members into stakeholders, rather than people who are simply there to share in the journey of life. When a family member starts viewing you as a bank, or when their expectations are built on assets rather than emotional bonds, it can create tension and divide. What is the cost of that? It's a diminishing sense of trust, an unspoken resentment, and perhaps even jealousy between loved ones. And when the time comes to divide up financial assets, it may feel less like a gesture of care and more like a transaction. So, what can you do to prevent this shift? The answer is simple, though not always easy. Focus on what truly matters. Instead of holding family meetings about the future inheritance, make more time for genuine connection, whether it's through shared activities, stories, or simply enjoying each other's company without the looming question of money. The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them, says Ernest Hemingway. Build trust by engaging in honest, caring conversations that have nothing to do with finances. When your relationship is built on understanding, respect, and shared experiences, the conversation can stay rooted in love. Remember, family is a foundation built on care, not capital. By keeping some things private and choosing instead to focus on building those authentic connections, you are ensuring that your legacy is not defined by dollars and cents, but by the values you impart through your actions. In the end, when financial matters come up naturally, they will carry less weight because the foundation is already strong and based on the real treasures of life: love, time, and trust. 5. Keeping financial plans private to protect family harmony. When it comes to family relationships, there's an undeniable truth. Money can complicate everything. Think about it. How many times have you seen family members disagree over finances, whether it's about an inheritance, a shared investment, or who gets what from a will? Now think about what happens when these conversations start too early. What often seems like an innocent discussion about the future can quickly spiral into confusion, resentment, or even outright conflict. Sharing too much of your financial plan can unintentionally create divides, especially if family members have differing expectations. You might have the best intentions in mind, thinking that transparency will bring everyone closer together. But what often happens is the opposite. You may find that people start focusing less on the emotional connections that bind them and more on the material aspects: who will receive what, when, and why. It's like opening a door that lets in all sorts of hidden feelings: envy, frustration, and sometimes a sense of entitlement. As the famous philosopher Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The same applies to family relationships. True wealth lies not in assets, but in the love, trust, and support we share. So, why risk disrupting that by spilling all the details about your finances? Think about your own family. Have you ever had a conversation where someone's expectations about inheritance or financial support led to tension or disagreement? It's often not the money itself, but the weight of expectations that causes the problem. Keeping certain financial details private isn't about hiding things. It's about protecting what truly matters: your relationships. By doing so, you can avoid the unnecessary strain that comes from financial disagreements, leaving more space for the things that truly bind you together, like shared memories, love, and trust. It's not about being secretive. It's about maintaining peace and stability in a way that allows everyone to continue focusing on what matters most. In the long run, the family bond is far more valuable than the material wealth that may one day be divided. By safeguarding your financial plans, you're ensuring that your family's love and connection remain intact, without the interference of financial expectations. The lesson here is simple. Protecting your family's harmony often means keeping your financial plans private, so that love and trust can continue to flourish without the burden of material concerns hanging over your relationships. As we wrap up today's discussion on the impact of sharing financial plans too early and how it can affect family relationships, let's take a moment to reflect. Have you gained a new perspective on the importance of privacy in financial matters? What insights will you take away and apply in your own life? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your reflections in the comments below. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to hit the like button, Share it with others who could benefit, and subscribe to Stoic in Your Life for more meaningful content on how to live a balanced, harmonious life. And remember to turn on notifications so you never miss a video filled with wisdom to help you navigate life's challenges. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.